Last week I did a mini workshop, and it's the first mini workshop that I've actually done since I moved to the UK, and it just felt so good to actually be working in that environment again. It's inspiring, it fills me with so much joy. And the topics that we covered were building trust and respect. Now, to me, those are two of the most important things that any leader can actually look to build within themselves. The reason being that if you are, obviously, as a leader, influencing other people, you can do it in two ways. You can do it by being an example, by building trust and building respect with those people, or you can do it by intimidation, by force, by making people behave in a certain manner. And the downside of that is that those people will never give you everything that they have. They'll never go the extra mile for you, and they'll always be holding something back. There'll be a gap, a space, distance between the two of you, which, if you work on trust and respect, will disappear. Because when you trust and respect somebody, it's almost like you step into their space. You want to learn about them, you want to know them, you want to impress them, you want to rise to their level. Now, how do we build these two elusive but wonderful attributes? Well, to me, it's actually really, really simple. There's only one thing that you really need to focus on, and that's integrity. Now, integrity is something that I think every company I've ever worked with has got either in their vision, in their mission, or in their value statements. It's something that we all know is incredibly important, but most of us don't know why it's important. Okay, we know that having integrity means being moral, it means being ethical, it means being a good person. But actually, it doesn't really mean all of that. Having integrity means that you do what you say you're going to do. Now, when I did the consciousness coaching training, they also added an extra bit onto that, and that is by when you say you're going to do it. So the whole statement as I use it is to do what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it. Now that to me is such a powerful statement, and on so many levels. For starters, it's a major commitment. When you give somebody your word and you tell them you're going to do something, you're committing to that person. If you let them down, then how that person responds to you will change. I realised just by observing people that when somebody is consistently late with me, that I start to disrespect that person's time as well. Hopefully I catch myself and I don't allow myself to do that, but there's a tendency to lose faith and respect in that person, and that's because that person doesn't have faith and respect of you and your time. And I'm just talking about time here. I mean, it can be anything. It can be meeting a deadline, it can be keeping a confidence, it can be standing up for you. I mean, it could be all sorts of things, but I'm sure you get the picture. Now, how do we develop that? And what I've also noticed, sorry, I'm going back a step here, is that with my clients, whilst keeping their word with other people was, I mean, it's doable, fairly easy, and they can get that. What they didn't realise that the most important thing is to keep your word with yourself. There's a gentleman, and I can't remember his name, but in 1971 he came up with this theory that communication, or the impact of communication, can be broken down into percentages. And he had three areas for this. He had the spoken word, so the actual literal words that you speak. He had the way that you say them, and he also had your body language, your gestures, the way that you're physically coming across to people. And the words that we say scored 5%. Now 5% is tiny, and yet we sit there and we ponder and we think about the words we're going to say to people. We write speeches, we teach people how to say speeches. But I think also, more importantly, and something that I don't even know people that can calibrate this, although I'm sure it can be calibrated, is I think that our beliefs in and of ourselves and of the world around us, that comes across in our communication as well. So if you don't believe that you are trustworthy and you don't respect yourself, then that is immediately imparted to the people that you communicate with and you interact with. And that's why, to me, it is so vitally important that when you commit to yourself, that you stick to those commitments, even far and above the commitments that you speak of and stick with to other people. And I mean, it can be simple things like I commit to go to the gym, and I'm sure I know most people who don't stick to those commitments or make excuses. It could be I commit to cutting sugar out of my diet, or only having one drinks on the weekend, or whatever it happens to be. And it's entirely up to you whether you listen to this or don't. I mean, I have no input, no kind of need for you to follow what I say. But it's just that I know the major impact that these particular changes can have in someone's life. And something else, which to me is above and beyond even the massive impact that all of that can have, and that is very simply that when you start to develop your own integrity, it's almost as if the world begins to believe in you too. So if you consistently make commitments and stick to those commitments, it's almost as if the universe starts to move with you, and opportunities that weren't there suddenly start to open up. I'm very quickly going to tell you about a situation when I was starting up in Botswana. I decided I wanted to be in the media at least once a month, and I thought about newspapers, radio, all sorts of different things. And I started doing it, and I made sure that once a month I was in some particular publication, a blog or something. And I think after 3 months of doing this, I was then contacted by the Botswana Broadcasting Association, and they asked me to come and do a program with them. And I would never have dreamt that somebody from TV would see what I was doing and want me to be a part of it. It's, to me, this is the power of being your word and keeping your word and developing trust and respect in the community that you work in, is that the world starts to trust and respect you too, and to open up new opportunities. Anyway, I hope this has been thought-provoking. I hope it adds value to you, and I hope to see you next week. All the best. Bye-bye.